Recognizes the gentleman from Kansas, Mr. Yoder, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today with a heavy heart to honor the life and legacy of a Kansas pioneer woman. Last week, I joined my family in Yoder, Kansas, to celebrate the life and legacy of my grandma, Edna Yoder, who recently passed at the age of 105 years old. I was very close to my grandma, as many of us are to our grandparents. She was a sweet and kind woman who could tell a good story, never met a stranger, and had an infectious laugh. I spent much of my childhood listening to her hum church hymns while cooking a country meal or quilting another masterpiece. As one of 14 children born in 1911, she grew up in another era, attending school in a one-room schoolhouse, a time without cell phones or television or even electricity and the other modern conveniences we take for granted today. Yet somehow she survived and had a remarkable life. She saw hard times, from the Dust Bowl to the Great Depression to countless world events over the past century. When she was born, women didn't have the right to vote in America. But even well past turning 100 years old, she was voting in local elections, even for President of the United States. And she saw a lot of presidents come and go, 19 as a matter of fact. She saw America progress from a country really still recovering from the deep wounds of our Civil War to the world's most indispensable, vital, and vibrant nation. She saw us defeat Hitler and Nazi Germany. She saw us bring freedom and peace around the globe to men, women, and children who had never experienced it before. She was born less than 10 years after Orville and Wilbur Wright took off on their first flight at Kitty Hawk, and yet she would watch Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon while she was just in her 50s. But as the world changed around her, she quietly lived her entire life near Yoder, Kansas, where she raised her children on the same farm that I grew up on. And she worked tirelessly on that farm, milking cows at dawn and bringing in the Kansas wheat harvest in the hot sun. And she didn't ask for much: food on the table, a roof over her head, and a better life for her children and grandchildren. Mr. Speaker, we like to call them the greatest generation. She was a living embodiment of the values that helped make America the greatest country in the world. She was guided every day by her faith in God, and she was truly blessed with more than a century of good health and good spirits in return. She loved her family and deeply believed in hard work and self-determination. She and her husband, Ori, were married for 49 years, and together they raised their 4 children and 9 grandchildren, and even watched one of them make it all the way from that farm in Yoder, Kansas, to the United States House of Representatives here in Washington, D.C. Family always came first for her. In her later years, she passed the time reading her Bible, playing in the bell choir, and of course quilting and playing lots of games. In fact, the last time I saw her recently, we played bingo together, and we the competition at her retirement home one last time. She was sharpened to her final hours. She was born into a home that did not have a telephone, but in her final days, we were also able to communicate from Kansas to Washington via FaceTime, so I would have a chance to speak with her. We recently had her services at the Yoder Mennonite Church, built just after she was born. This was the church she was raised in, was baptized in, was married in, and the church in which we laid her to eternal rest. From 1911 to 2017, what a ride, what a remarkable life, and an unforgettable woman. Through it all, she stayed true to what was important to her and what makes America such a strong nation: her faith, her family, and her Kansas prairie values. Grandma, we were so blessed to have so many years with you. You lived an amazing 105 years. And I think if we look closely and we listen closely, you gave us a roadmap for a long and happy life. As you pass on to eternal life, please know that you are an inspiration to all of us every day. May you rest in peace, Grandma. And Mr. Speaker, may you and my colleagues in this body join me in keeping her in your prayers. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back the balance of his time.